You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, episode 63, Exercise is the Ultimate Medication. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause, menopause and beyond. Stay tuned as your host, naturopath Jennifer Harrington, explains how to use natural therapies to find your ultimate health and happiness during your transition. Hello and welcome back, ladies. I have a real treat of an episode for you today. I have interviewed Colin Hoobler, who is a doctor of physical therapy, and this episode I'm sure is going to be not only one of the most downloaded but one of the most repeated. So it contains such solid information that is going to help to get you started on your way to health and fitness. And Colin also discusses some of his free resources, which I would love for you all to go and check out afterwards. But let me tell you a little bit about Colin. Colin has 2 master's degrees and he has been a clinician for over 20 years. He really helps to empower people to take control of their life and their physical health by applying science and research to practical action plans. He's written books, he's hosted podcasts, he's created the fitness show on PBS, and he competes as a drug-free bodybuilder. But anyway, I can go on and tell you all about Colin, but instead, let's jump straight to the conversation. Thank you for joining us, Colin.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is really exciting because I know most of my women know they should be moving, but for whatever reason, whatever limiting belief or excuse they're telling themselves, they're not. So we're very excited to have you here today to see if we can scrap these limiting beliefs and get people moving as they know they should be.
Okay.
So where do we get started, Colin?
Well, I think there are basically 4 W's that you got to worry about. And the first W is why. Why on earth is it so important that you exercise? And
well,
here's
where
the
do we
thing.
start?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, but the first thing is the why, and that's their motivation, right? Because people that say, well, I don't have time to exercise, is kind of like, it's really just like saying, essentially, it's not important enough for me to make time, right? If I told you that you're going to get paid $1 million every time that you work out, suddenly everyone has time to work out, right? Mm-hmm. So I think part of it is just not understanding and appreciating how valuable and how incredibly diverse of a benefit you get when you exercise regularly, and especially for women. Because if you're talking about mood swings, anxiety, depression, even fertility, exercise will affect fertility. That if you just start to stack up all the whys, and it really starts to make a compelling argument, right? But really the number one thing that I tell women and men as well, well, do you love your kids? Do you love your spouse? Do you love your family? And of course I do. Well, then how can you not take care of yourself? Because if you choose, and it's really important that you get this nomenclature correct. You are choosing not to exercise. It is not that I don't have time. It is that you are choosing not to make time. You are essentially saying and being okay with the idea that you're going to have to get taken care of someday by your family. Because not exercising has been linked to early disability, early death. I mean, you're basically you're creating an imposition on your family by not taking care of yourself. So I think when you think of the number one reason, the why, is to protect your family.
Wow, I have never thought of it like that. I'm so glad I exercise.
Well, because so many people don't. And then the next thing you know, you're being admitted to assisted living or memory care, right? You're having to go someplace where other people are going to have to take care of you. That's an imposition for your family. Your family wants you around. Your kids need you around. Look at them and appreciate all it takes is to really start scheduling every day 30 to 45 minutes for yourself. That's your time every day. And the question is, are your kids and your family worth it? Of course they are, right? So I would say if you can just get your motivation correct and get your priorities in line, because not exercising is linked to early death and all these other problems. So it's really important that you fess up and be honest with yourself when you say, well, I don't have time. Or if you have an injury, my back hurts or my knee hurts, that's only going to get worse if you don't exercise.
Wow. I hear you, Colin. And especially with my audience, like we've got a problem, like we have a serious problem with bone loss. That
Yes.
We know that peak bone mass for women is at 30, and that most of the women listening to this audience to this podcast are 40, 50, 60. We have a bone loss issue. That if you want to stay on your feet, if you want your bones to be strong enough to hold you so that you can still walk around, then we need to have strong bone mass. And how we protect our bones is through exercise. And I guess you just need to look outside and see different women or different people that are maybe 10, 20, 30 years older than you, and look at the ones that have exercised over their lifetime and how active they still are. Are they running around with their grandkids and great-grandkids? Are they still running marathons? I'm just thinking, recently I saw a Facebook clip, and it was a couple getting married. I think she was 104 and he was 109.
Yeah.
And they were dancing at their wedding, but they were dancing better than I can do, like spinning. And I was like, wow, my partner and I do salsa dancing.
Oh,
we haven't been able to in COVID, but I was watching this video and I'm thinking, wow, here am I, mid-40s, and I can't dance as well as this couple who are in 100. Like, I want to be able to dance like them when I'm that age. And by sitting at home, I'm not going to get there. It's by getting out. And one thing we were going to talk about is forms of exercise today. But for me, there also needs to be an element of fun. Because if there's that element of fun, you're going to get there. It's going to be a priority in your schedule that you turn up to each week because you miss it.
Well, and so let's get back to the W's, right? Because that's exactly right. The why. Well, no, because you got the why. I think I just made that point. But then the next is when. Well, when are you going to do it? If you wake up in the morning and you don't know when you're going to do it that day, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen because the day gets away from you quickly, right? So set a time, stick to it. The next is what? What are you going to do, right? I mean, what are you going to do? And there are basically 4 components you got to worry about, right? There's endurance, which you can do with a brisk walk. No problem there, right? Or you can swim, or you can play tennis. These are all endurance. Exactly. Salsa dancing, which I stink at. And I don't have no idea even how to do that. I like salsa with my chips, but that's as far as that goes, right? So I would say, you got the cardio piece, but then you have the strength piece. And that's something that most women, at least in my clinical practice, they tend to shy away from more for reasons such as, well, I don't want to get big muscles, or I don't, things like that, which we know really is not going to happen by accident, right? It's kind of like saying, well, I don't want to work because I'm afraid of becoming a millionaire, right? It's like, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of hard work. So you don't have to worry about that. But like what you said with bones, strengthening is so important for bone mass and to prevent fractures. And then you also have stretching, which, right, that's in and of itself very important. And then you have body composition, which is what you eat. So those 4 components, that's what you're talking about for fitness. And then the last W is where. Where are you going to do it? If you don't have a gym that you want to go to, most women and men that I know hate going to the gym. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't like going to the gym. I work out at home. So what I've done is I just have a weight set that I use at home. But at action30.com, it's free. Go to videos, right? And you can see a home program that's based on a full body program. It doesn't take you longer than 10 or 15 minutes every day. You get your whole body with minimal equipment, actually with no equipment.
I watched it last night.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. So the videos are great in that you're really showing the posture. You're really showing exactly how you can go wrong with the exercise, how to make sure you're doing it right and to stay on track so that you don't hurt yourself. And it's a fabulous resource.
Oh, I appreciate that. But you know what? You just touched on something. Hey, ladies, if you want to look 10 to 15 years younger right now, sit up tall. Fix your posture. Go in the mirror, look at yourself hunched over, and then sit up tall and look at what happens. It automatically knocks 10 to 15 years at least right off of your appearance.
Yes, I watched that video too on posture.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not just about, vanity. Better posture, right? It improves breathing, shoulder function, those types of things. So
mood?
Yeah, mood. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're looking down at the ground, it's not good for your mood. You should be looking up.
Very good. Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about mood is how many women out there are depressed? Anybody out there depressed? Well, unfortunately, it's very common, right? It's one of the leading causes of disability in the world. Well, there's a key hormone called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's BDNF. There's only one way to affect BDNF. Well, that we know of, they can tangibly increase it to affect mood with depression, and it's exercise. So it's the most compelling way that we know can affect BDNF, right? There may be a couple other ways, and I'll let
blueberries and chiropractic. Chiropractic treatments are also linked in with improving BDNF. And blueberries is the only food that I'm aware of that may have a positive effect on BDNF. But they're two things you can't do. Like, you're not really going to do them every day, but exercise you can do every day.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with having blueberries every day, but chiropractic.
If you're eating seasonally. But yes, I love blueberries.
Yeah, but if you really want to consistently affect BDNF, because it's a cumulative effect, right? It's really several hundred workouts, and you can dramatically change that hormone, which can help you sleep better and help your moods and
cognition.
help you. Exactly. And it also helps preserve white matter, which helps prevent dementia. So we know that it has all these compelling effects on the brain. But those 4 W's, and then you can even add a 5th W.
And you can't supplement with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but the 5th W is who? Do you have somebody that you can do this with? Because partners, groups, those are powerful accountability systems with exercise, right? So if you have a spouse or a partner or anybody that's on your speed and you're basically have a similar mindset, boy, that can really make a difference. But be careful, because if you choose the wrong partner, it can go the other way too in a hurry.
Well, even family, like you mentioned spouse, but what about your kids? How much do you care for them? Don't you want them exercising as well? So maybe grab them and do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had to go and buy my daughter a set of kettlebells because she saw me. It's like, hold on, you can't have some and not me. So we got her a yoga mat and some kettlebells and work out together.
It's a great addiction. Yeah, it's a great addiction.
Yes, definitely. And I love your hoop. It's for me, I do a combination of different things. I go to a functional gym which has group classes, and I love I can say competitiveness, but I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like we egg each other on and we get each other moving and come on, you can get heavier weights, and you need to get started somewhere. But once you've got started, you need to keep going. So it's what's going to help you. So you win, like you've got your date, your class, you're going to rock up each and every week, or if it's on twice a week or 3 times a week or 4 times a week or every day. But
I would say don't think of exercise. Forget that term altogether. Just forget it and think of it as medication. So you are basically medicating, you're self-medicating every day, because we know that it's more powerful than really any medication we have on the planet, right? If you think that painkillers are great, opioids or these mood changing pills, they're nothing compared to exercise. Nothing. And they don't give you confidence. They don't improve your sex drive. They don't improve your ability to do things, right? So it's extremely important. What's that?
But they give you side effects.
Oh, well, yeah, just a few, right? It's like a list of a few hundred, different side effects, and nobody wants those. So the only side effect from exercise is fatigue. You're going to get tired, but who cares? You're going to sleep better.
So we know 4 W's. We know why, we know when, we know where, and we know who.
And do we get when?
Yes.
Do we get why, when, who, what? The what. So what are you going to do? And like I said, there are 4 components. So make sure you've got to have strengthening in there, ladies. You've got to have it because it's going to affect your hormones for sure. But remember, there are implications for bone strength, muscle strength. And the neat thing about strengthening is that when you strengthen muscles, right, they burn a lot of calories per unit of time, a lot of calories. So when you do strength training and your muscles, they get stronger and they function better, guess what happens? When you're sitting around later on in the day, you're burning more calories per unit of time than somebody who doesn't do the strength training. So it's really important that you add that for that reason. But there's also another reason, that's stress. I mean, if you want to, if there's a guy or girl in your life that's driving you crazy, or your kids are giving you stress, your cat keeps throwing up on the rug or whatever it is, strength training really gives you a neat control effect to really kind of get out some of that stress.
Really, there's not much exercise doesn't do.
Exactly. Yeah. It affects all body systems positively without side effects. So pretty amazing stuff.
Yes. So we've got no more excuses. We need to go and get started. And I don't know if we spoke about time, like what sort of, how frequently do you recommend?
I would say, well, for cardio, you should do that every day. Plan on doing just a brisk walk every day. And what we tell people is walk 10 to 15 minutes away from your home and then walk back and do it briskly. Take your pet with you, whatever it is. But you need to do that every day. And then the other thing is make sure you break up your sitting throughout the day as well. You don't want to walk, do your workout and then the rest of the day sit for 8 to 10 hours. You can basically unravel a lot of the benefits you got from the exercise by doing that. So
they
make
do
sure
say that sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah, it is. Exactly, Jennifer, exactly. And so you really want to make sure that you're getting up at least every half hour, even if it's just for a minute or two. You got to break that up. But so there's the cardio, and then the strengthening piece, like I show on the website at action30.com, that doesn't take long at all. I mean, it's like 10 to 15 minutes. And then you'll get better at it. You can shrink it up a little bit more. And the most you'll ever really need are some dumbbells, but definitely at the beginning, you don't need anything to start. And then you can stretch between your sets of the strengthening. So those are the three main activities. That's kind of bare bones minimum, right? Then on top of that, go do all your physical activity stuff. You can swim, play tennis, whatever else that you want to do, but you want to make sure that you get PAR, which is PAR, making sure that you're doing the strengthening basically every other day. But the endurance activity, do that basically every day. If you start to have pain or a lot of soreness, it means you need to back off. Okay, the soreness should be very mild, and if you do have joint pain, it means you're doing something wrong with the exercise. You need to modify that because you're not supposed to have joint pain, knees, shoulders, back, wherever. You're not supposed to. That's not normal. You're not supposed to have sharp joint pain.
So depending on where you're listening to the podcast, in Australia, if you do have an injury, you can go to your family doctor and ask for exercise physiology on a care plan. And in Australia, exercise physiologists are physiotherapists and personal trainers. So you can actually go there and get a number of sessions so that you're with an expert if you have an injury, because we want you to get started. But if you do have an injury, it's a good idea to have healthcare provider working along with you to make sure you've got the right posture, and that if anything, you're going to support and aid recovery from your injury rather than re-injuring
Go
it.
the other way.
Do you have anything like that in the US where maybe they can put it on insurance?
Yes. Yeah, and it's just physical therapy. So I've had, for example, I had 7 clinics where patients could come and see us, our group. And the whole goal, I will just say this in general, and I would hold physiotherapists, trainers, whoever, to this same standard, which is that the majority of the time, the plan needs to be setting you up on something that you can do for yourself. You really shouldn't have to continue seeing that therapist, trainer, whoever. You shouldn't have to see them in perpetuity, a couple times a week and that sort of thing. You may at the beginning for the first few weeks, but really it's the onus is on them to make sure that you know what you're doing so that you don't have to keep draining your resources and the state's resources and the country's resources just because it's there. You need to do it on your own.
I think in Australia it's 5 sessions you get. So you've got 5 sessions. Perfect, yeah. in order to make sure you're doing things properly and be on your way. So there really is no excuses not to get started.
Not.
There's something similar in most countries.
Yeah. And please, hopefully I'm not sending the message here that this is easy and simple. It may be simple, relatively speaking. It's not easy. So please don't, hopefully I'm not sending the message, oh, well, yeah, just do this or that. I know that it's hard, but the favor you can do yourself is forget going out walking. If you're not doing anything right now, forget doing that for 30 minutes. Just go out and walk for 5 minutes away from your house and walk back. And then tomorrow, make it 10 minutes. And then if you start to feel kind of tired, keep it at 10 minutes for a little bit. But what will happen, it's almost like magic, you'll be like, oh, I can do 15. I actually want to go to 15. And then I actually want to go to 20. And then I'm going to add the strengthening piece that Colin talked about. So just take it piece by piece, but take it one day at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself. And be hard on yourself in the sense that hold yourself to that time, that when piece, because that's your time, that half hour, 45 minutes. But the progress, move at your own pace. That's key.
Fantastic. So if women want to reach out to you or get in contact with you or work with you, what is the best way to do that, Colin?
Oh, just go to action30.com and then you can go to contact me and then you can email me there.
Awesome. So that's also where the videos were. And yes. I don't know whether we've mentioned that you also have your own podcast.
Yeah, action30.com. It's called Action 30. And then that's where all the episodes are, which you are going to be on that podcast here in the coming months. So talking about
hit menopause. Subscribe so you don't miss it.
That's right. So you don't miss it.
Yes. Well, this has been a wonderful talk this morning. Thank you so much for your time, Colin. And I know that we'll be talking again soon.
I hope so. Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and it is not intended to replace medical advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast